investigative tools used by robbery, homicide, and gang and narcotic division detectives, with the U.S. Marshal Service Task Force involved as well.
Before his parents' death, Rob, Michelle, and Nick attended a holiday party at comedian Conan O'Brien's house. Nick and his father were seen having an argument, according to a source familiar with the incident. It's unclear what connection, if any, the argument may have had to those killings. Authorities have not elaborated on how the victims died or why investigators suspect that their son was responsible.
It was a grueling day behind the thick walls of the Twin Towers jail in Los Angeles. Nick Reiner, 32, sat in a small room, orange jumpsuit on, hands cuffed to the table. Across from him were FBI agents and LAPD detectives. They had big news to share from what Nick started saying in his interviews. For the first time, shocking details came out about what really happened that terrible morning of December 14, 2025, when his dad Rob Reiner and mom Michelle Singer Reiner were found stabbed many times in their Brentwood home. Now, a broken and confused Nick has begun to talk about the voices in his head, and his revelations are more alarming than anyone thought of.
Now at 11, new video right here showing police closing in on Nick Reiner just hours after his parents, Michelle and Rob Reiner, were found dead in their home. This new video showing his movements inside a convenience store moments before he was arrested. That new video coming in as Nick Reiner is formally charged with the murders of his parents. And tonight, some of Michelle and Rob Reiner's closest friends breaking their silence on the tragedy. Eyewitness News reporter Liz Nagy live now with a closer look at that video and the latest on the investigation tonight. Liz.
Mark, this video is almost eerie to watch given what we know right now. Investigators are now showing us this video of Nick Reiner as he was in the hours just after they say he killed his parents inside their own home. Take a look at Nick Reiner's movements, his demeanor, and what happened just as police closed in on him. Nick Reiner's escape ended the second this LA police cruiser rounded the corner and blocked him in on a sidewalk Sunday night. Zoomed in closer, you see officers hop out, guns drawn, and Reiner's hands instinctively shoot into the air.
He was found...
Nick looked tired, eyes down, like a lost little boy. He told them he hadn't slept much since the arrest. The agents asked gentle questions at first. Nick said the voices started getting louder weeks before. He was on meds for schizophrenia, but he stopped taking them because they made him feel foggy. They told me my parents were against me, he whispered. That they wanted to lock me away forever. It was the illness talking, mixed with old hurts from years of fighting drugs.
Who is Nick Reiner, the son of famed director Rob Reiner and producer Michelle Singer Reiner? He was arrested by LAPD and believed by investigators to be, quote, responsible for the death of his parents. So how'd we get here? Well, it's no secret that Nick has struggled with addiction, and behind closed doors, his parents, like many others, struggled to help their son navigate it. The tension was even the subject of a 2015 movie that Nick co-wrote called Being Charlie.
You have a disease, Charlie. We all do. All right? And acceptance is the first step towards controlling...
No, you're right.
I do have a disease. It's this place. Okay? It makes you feel like a leper, and then when you get out, everyone's expecting you to up again, so you start using it.
During the film's promotion, Nick appeared alongside his father in an interview and discussed his past drug use.
Well, I think I'm lucky in the sense that I have parents that care about me, and because of that, when I would go out and do, things like drugs and stuff like that, I'd feel a tremendous amount of guilt because I'd think, oh, they're thinking about me right now. They want me to do good. And most people don't have, not most people, but some people don't have parents that are, have any interest in that.
He also talked about his struggles growing up in the Reiner household.
We didn't bond a lot as a kid. Like, he really liked baseball, I liked basketball, and he could watch that with my brother, baseball. But I just, when I saw him do that, and it was something that I'm interested in, I was like, wow, like, he really knows a lot, and like, it made me feel closer to him and be like...
The FBI notes say Nick remembered the night before at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party on December 13th. He argued loudly with his dad about money and getting more help. Nick felt everyone staring like he didn't belong. Rob tried to calm him, but Nick stormed out, feeling angry and alone. He went back to the guest house on their property where he lived. That night the voices got worse. They said Dad was going to kick me out, send me to a bad place, Nick said. He cried telling it.
I just got out of court where Nick Reiner appeared for the first time after he was charged with first-degree murder in the deaths of his parents, Michelle and Rob Reiner.
Reiner was seated calmly inside of the enclosed area for people who are in custody. He was wearing a blue vest, his wrists were shackled, and the judge would not allow for any pictures or video to be taken of him. The judge ordered that Reiner be held without bail until his arraignment, which was set for January 7, 2026.
CNN has also obtained surveillance video from Sunday showing Reiner at a gas station after his parents had been killed.
There's another video as well which shows the Reiner leaving the gas station, and he's surrounded by law enforcement with their sirens blaring, and he was taken into custody without incident.
Early morning, around dawn on December 14th, Nick said he walked to the main house. He wanted to talk, to say sorry. But when he saw his parents sleeping, the voices screamed. He grabbed a kitchen knife, big and sharp. In a blur, he attacked. "I don't remember all of it," he told the agents. "It was like someone else doing it. Then I saw blood and I ran." He drove around, ended up near USC, bought a drink at a gas station, calm on camera before police found him.
Through the night, working with the coroner's office, they were able to identify them definitively as Rob and Michelle Reiner. We have our robbery homicide division handling the investigation. They worked throughout the night on this case and were able to take into custody Nick Reiner, a suspect in this case. He was subsequently booked for murder and is being held on $4 million bail. Pretty much that's what I can share at this point, but again, a very, very tragic incident.
The new details come as a shock to everyone. Nick talked about his whole life feeling like a failure. Starting drugs at 15, heroin pulling him down, 18 rehabs by young adult. Even the movie Being Charlie in 2015, made with his dad about his story, didn't fix the deep pain. "Dad tried so hard," Nick said, voice cracking. "He loved me too much. That's why he kept me close." But living there made tensions build. Michelle worried most lately about his strange behavior.
Let's talk about the latest in the Rob Reiner murder, the horrific double murder in which the couple's son, Nick, is in custody. This time yesterday, bail had been set at $4 million, and we criticized that on this show, saying that's not going to do it. And sure enough, bail was revoked. There is no bail set for him. He needs to remain in custody, where now they are reporting, TMZ, that he is on suicide watch and in an administrative segregation, they call it, at Twin Towers Correctional Facility in LA. The night before his parents were murdered, Saturday night this past, Nick got into a very loud argument with his father at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party. The shouting match was loud enough that many others could hear it. That Rob and his wife, Nick's mother, Michelle, then left the party. We do not know if Nick left with them, reports TMZ. A source at the party told us Nick looked out of place at the party, mostly keeping to himself. And there was more on that in today's reporting. Then this just broke. Hold on, before I move on to this. There's so much to tell you.
Agents asked why there were so many stabs. Nick said the voices wouldn't stop until it was done. He felt paranoid, like his parents plotted against him. No plan, just a snap from illness and relapse. Death certificates later showed they died in minutes from many knife wounds. Romy, his sister, found them when a massage lady didn't get an answer.
A documentary for Fox Network on Nick Reiner's case. And got to tell you, this schizophrenia diagnosis, by the way, he didn't just develop schizophrenia. He has had schizophrenia for years, we're told. And the diagnosis of that is going to be so important in this case. And part of it has to do with the way the mental health system works. So somebody who has schizophrenia often self-medicates, and Nick clearly did that, from heroin to cocaine to various stimulants, all sorts of things. What happens is that somebody gets diagnosed with schizophrenia, but they self-medicate and they become a drug addict. And then in these rehab facilities, and he went to 18 of them, what they end up doing is they end up treating the addiction to the drugs and not dealing with, ignoring, or not even understanding the underlying schizophrenia, the underlying mental illness. So the person gets clean, goes out, has the underlying disease untreated, and then they go back to their old habits to self-medicate. That's when it becomes this revolving door. And that's what happened to Nick Reiner. He was treated for addiction over and over and over. But the schizophrenia largely went untreated. And when it did get treated, what happens?
Nick spoke of guilt now like a heavy rock on his chest. I killed the people who loved me most, he said. He remembered happy times, family dinners, dad directing movies, mom taking photos. Rob taught him stories could heal, but his own story turned dark. Nick wished he stayed on meds, got more help sooner.
Let's see. Fox News Digital reporting Nick Reiner was, quote, not medically cleared to appear in court today, which he was supposed to do. His lawyer, Alan Jackson, that's the guy who represented Karen Reed and got an acquittal for her. He's got a much tougher battle on this one. Right, saying, quote, he is not medically cleared to be transported to the court. That's an obvious reference to his mental health. Nick, 32, did not appear before a judge on Tuesday, the first time he was scheduled to appear since the bodies of Rob and Michelle were discovered. Tuesday's hearing was postponed for another date. Now there's reporting about what happened at his hotel room, how those who checked him in said they didn't see blood all over him or cuts on him. There was nothing obviously wrong with him. But when the police made their way over to his hotel, they found a lot of blood on early Sunday morning in Santa Monica. He was staying at a place called the Pierside, and he checked in around 4 a.m. Sunday, so the murder apparently was already done, using his credit card. His check-in came hours after the heated argument at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party. Eyewitnesses said he did seem tweaked out when he checked in, but no visible signs he'd been in a violent confrontation, no blood stains or cuts on his body. The reservation was made for just one day, but he never formally checked out. When the staff came into his room later Sunday morning, they found the shower full of blood on the bed. The window in the room was covered by bed sheets, and the cops eventually went and gathered evidence there. The report on the argument at Conan's party, many people noticed he was behaving strangely. He was, quote, freaking everyone out, acting crazy. He kept asking people if they were famous, a source told People magazine.
The FBI shared these because Nick's lawyer talks insanity plea. His mind was sick, not evil. Experts say schizophrenia can make delusions real. Nick had it bad, plus addiction scars. Prosecutors think about death penalty, but mental health makes it hard.
Today I'm here to announce that our office will be filing charges against Nick Reiner, who is accused of killing his parents, actor-director Rob Reiner, and photographer-producer Michelle Reiner. These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with a special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife. These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. No decision at this point has been made with respect to the death penalty. We have requested, and currently Nick Reiner is being held without bail. Now, in announcing these charges, I also want to announce that they're just that. They are charges. Charges are not evidence. Evidence is something that we will be presenting in a court of law to meet the standard of proof we meet in every criminal case, which is beyond a reasonable doubt, to 12 jurors who will unanimously have to find that we've met that standard to prove the charges we bring to court. Right now, with respect to the process, once the charges get filed this afternoon, Nick Reiner will be then brought to court. He is going through medical clearance, something that everybody who gets arrested and gets held in a Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department jail goes through. Once he is medically cleared, he will be brought to court to be arraigned on these charges. At that point, he will enter a plea of guilty or not guilty.
Right inside the cage, Nick thinks of his brother Jake and sister Romy. They said in a note they're heartbroken, ask for kindness. Nick wants to say sorry, but words feel small. He sees Dad's face in dreams, hearing, "I love you, kid," from old days. Friends like Billy Crystal remember Rob's warnings ignored. Rob knew risks keeping Nick close but loved one. Now details show how fast it broke.
This work, investigative tools used by robbery, homicide, and gang and narcotic division detectives with the U.S. Marshal Service Task Force involved as well.
Surveillance cameras from an Exposition Park convenience store show Nick Reiner wandering into the parking lot Sunday night with a distinct gait, red backpack slung over one shoulder. Inside the store, Nick Reiner grabs a drink and gets in line, nervously shifting from foot to foot, head on a swivel. This man, who appears to be a law enforcement officer, enters the store. This is the moment Nick Reiner appears to stare face to face with that law enforcement officer, stutter-stepping and maneuvering to not so subtly avoid him. As he walks out, a monitor above Reiner's head reads, "Recording in progress." Minutes later, LAPD wrestled Nick Reiner into handcuffs. Prosecutors have now charged him with 2 counts of murder for the deaths of his parents, Rob and Michelle Reiner.
These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty.
Outside the courthouse, Reiner's defense attorney says the 32-year-old son is not yet medically cleared to appear before a judge.
We'll be back day to day. The bailiff has indicated that the sheriff's department will take it on a day-by-day basis, and so hopefully he'll be cleared tomorrow.
Sunday night, neighbors say actor Billy Crystal was one of the first to appear nearly in tears at the Reiners' Brentwood home where they lay dead. Tonight, Crystal and some of the Hollywood couple's closest confidants, Larry David and Albert Brooks among them, said in a lengthy joint statement, "Strong and determined, Michelle and Rob Reiner devoted a great deal of their lives to the betterment of our fellow citizens. We were their friends, and we will miss them forever." You could feel the emotion as you read that statement. Tonight, prosecutors say Nick Reiner could appear before a judge for the first time as soon as tomorrow. But as you heard from his defense attorney, that determination has still not been made. Reporting live tonight.
The case is set to go to court soon. Once that happens, Nick faces life or worse. But his words from the cage paint a sad picture. A son lost to sickness, parents trying till the end.
Maine author Stephen King reacted to the news of the death of Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle. King said on social media that he was, quote, horrified and saddened by the deaths and called Reiner a brilliant filmmaker. Reiner directed 2 movies based on King's work. They were Stand By Me in 1986 and Misery in 1990. King said, quote, "Rest in peace, Rob, you always stood by me."
Hollywood still cries. Stephen King called Rob a brilliant friend. Even former President Obama remembered him for his courage. Tributes keep coming, focusing on Rob's light, not the dark end. Nick's confession reminds us mental illness can hide quietly till it explodes. Rob and Michelle gave everything to help. Their love was big, but pain was bigger. How do you think this case will turn out for Nick? Even if he manages to get a good lawyer, can he plead for a lighter sentence? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.